Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you are. Thank you very much for joining Habib Metro Bank's webinar on steering towards a more Roshan Pakistan. We sincerely hope that you will find the webinar to be very informative and useful. Just when I'm starting, a few points about Habib Metro Bank. We are a subsidiary of Habib Bank AG Zurich and have been in operations in Pakistan for almost 30 years. We are a leading trade finance bank in the country with a very strong commercial and corporate client base. With a pan-Pakistan presence with 425 branches and present in 140 cities in Pakistan. Our parent organization, Habib Bank AG Zurich, which is headquartered out of Switzerland, has been in operations for over 50 years. It is one of the most strongly capitalized banks in Switzerland with a presence in over 10 countries, including the UK, which is for whom we are having our webinar today. We have 8 branches in the UK as Habib Bank AG Zurich. The objective of this session is to discuss the recently introduced Roshan digital account offering. We have very relevant speakers here today who will talk in detail about the RDA, as we popularly call it. Just to say a few introductory points from my side, this is an initiative of the State Bank of Pakistan, which enables overseas Pakistanis to open these accounts electronically, digitally, sitting wherever they are in the world, from their home, from their offices. So it really has changed the dynamics of how easy it has become to operate these accounts and do transactions in Pakistan. We'll hear a lot more details from the other speakers, but I just wanted to stress upon the ease and speed of account opening. These accounts can be opened in 48 hours if you have complete documentation. Not only opening the account is easy, but subsequently operating this account has become very easy. And in addition to the ease of operating the account, it offers multiple other features, including a very attractive investment opportunity in what is called as Naya Pakistan certificate. And in addition, there are other multiple features such as making investments in the Pakistan stock market, if you wish to make any donations to approved NGOs. And a recent addition has been what is called Roshan Apni Car, and we'll hear more about this. In fact, we have one of the panelists who is the CEO for Indus Motors who will be talking about this in detail. Just to share with all the audience that Habib Metro Roshan digital account was launched just about 3 months ago. And so far, we've had tremendous success in terms of interest from our clients globally, and we've received over $100 million through our counters in just the last 3 months. So this has really been very successful. So I'll just briefly introduce our speakers and our panelists and request them to then take the stage. Let me start by welcoming and saying that we are honored to have the Honorable High Commissioner of Pakistan to the UK, Mr. Mozam Ahmed Khan. He is here with us today. We also have the Honorable Governor of the State Bank of Pakistan, Dr. Raza Bakar, who will be speaking shortly. And we have the Deputy Governor of State Bank of Pakistan, Dr. Murtaza Syed Saab, who is actually leading the Roshan Digital Initiative from the State Bank of Pakistan. We are truly grateful with the presence of Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, who is the chairperson of the Pakistan Stock Exchange. She really doesn't need any introduction. She has been a former federal finance minister. She was also the former governor of the State Bank of Pakistan. We're delighted to have her here today with us. We also they are being joined by Mr. Ali Asghar Jamali, who is the CEO for the Toyota Indus Motor Company, one of the largest automobile companies in Pakistan. And we're really delighted that he has joined us today because he can also talk about the Roshan Apni Car latest proposition that has been introduced. And last but not the least, we have the talented and charming Mr. James Khan, who is an extremely well-known global personality. He's a global entrepreneur and really represents the diaspora who we are trying to reach out to. So thank you very much, James, and thank you everyone for joining us. We're going to start with the High Commissioner, and before I request him to open up, I just want to mention that UK is one of the top locations for the Roshan digital accounts, with almost 15% of the accounts so far opened are from the UK, and about 8 to 10% of the inflows have come in from the UK. With over 1 million Pakistanis residing in the UK, I think this is a wonderful opportunity and timely for us to have this discussion, not to mention the fact that in this pandemic environment, it couldn't have been a better timing for this initiative to be launched by the State Bank of Pakistan. So I'm just going to pause here and request His Excellency, Mr. Mozum Saab, to share his opening comments with us. Thank you very much, Mozum Saab.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Nathani Saab. Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, Raza Baqir Saab, President, CEO, Habib Bank, Mohsin Nathani Saab, Murtaza Syed, Deputy Governor, State Bank, Dr. Shamshad, Dr. Chairperson, Pakistan Stock Exchange, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to the management of the HABIBMETRO Bank for organizing this event. It is a matter of great satisfaction that for the first time in Pakistan's history, overseas Pakistanis are being provided an opportunity to remotely open their accounts in Pakistan through a transparent and digital process and invest in high-yield bonds such as Naya Pakistan certificates. Similarly, under the new RD initiative, now the overseas Pakistanis can purchase or finance cars for their loved ones in Pakistan, and under Roshan's Samaji Khidmat initiative would be allowed to send their donations to the renowned charitable organization in Pakistan. Let me once again commend Governor State Bank and his team for these remarkable initiatives and for personally spearheading the awareness campaign on this initiative around the world. I would particularly like to acknowledge the State Bank's decision to allow pound sterling denominated accounts in the UK. I'm sure this will go a long way in further promoting Roshan Digital here in this country. It is my earnest hope that to facilitate their businesses in Pakistan, State Bank would also look into the possibility of allowing the corporate sector to open digital accounts along similar lines. Ladies and gentlemen, the United Kingdom is an important partner of Pakistan. It is the third largest trade partner, second largest source of investment, and third largest source of remittances to Pakistan. It also hosts a vibrant Pakistani diaspora of more than 1.6 million. Economic relations between Pakistan and the UK are growing, and despite the unprecedented challenges of COVID-19, our exports have recorded an unprecedented growth of 31% during the first 10 months of the current financial year. This is the highest ever export to the UK. Our remittances from the UK have registered an increase of 68% on year-on-year basis. During the month of April 2021 alone, remittances from the UK have recorded an unprecedented growth of more than 130%, with highest ever monthly figure of US $431 million. Following the inauguration of RDA initiative by Prime Minister Imran Khan, the High Commission in London and its consulate across the UK undertook various initiatives to disseminate and share the information through one-on-one meetings with community leaders, business organizations, and through Khuli Kacheris. A mass awareness campaign has also been launched through social media and through our mass email system. I'm very happy to note that the response of Pakistani diaspora, as Mr. Nathani also mentioned, in the UK had been most encouraging. I understand the UK has been the third largest contributor in terms of numbers of accounts opened so far. I'm confident that with the right incentives and better projections, this trend will gain further momentum in the days ahead as more and more overseas Pakistanis will avail this facility. The initiative of RDA is not only beneficial for the community, but also for the country. By opening this account, Pakistanis living abroad can meaningfully play their role in the economic development of Pakistan. And in line with Prime Minister Imran Khan's vision, the Pakistan High Commission would continue to make every effort to serve our people in the best possible manner. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mozam Saab. Thank you very much. Very useful to get your insight. I'm now going to request the Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, Raza Bakar Saab, to share with us his thoughts on the progress so far with the Roshan digital account and some of his other thoughts. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. बहुत shukriya. Let me first and foremost welcome Shamshad Akhtar Sahiba, former Governor of the State Bank, former Federal Minister, our High Commissioner, Mozam Ahmed Khan Sahib, our Deputy Governor, Murtaza Sahib, our also very dynamic Chief Executive Officer of Indus Motors Company, Ali Jamali Sahib, and James Khan. I have not met before, but looking forward to your remarks. It's a real pleasure to be with all of you here today at this event organized by HABIBMETRO Bank on Roshan digital accounts. Right at the outset, let me thank Mohsin Athani Saab for not only organizing this, but the very impressive performance that HABIBMETRO Bank has demonstrated since they joined the family of commercial banks in Pakistan that are offering Roshan digital accounts. The pace at which HABIBMETRO has grown is really impressive. It's about $100 million in about 100 days. That's about $1 million a day. And furthermore, the zeal and ownership with which the management of HABIBMETRO in Pakistan, as well as the parent company, has taken this forward, I think is also setting a very high benchmark for the other banks that are not only in the Roshan family, but also are being added to the Roshan family. I should also appreciate the team, the officers in HABIBMETRO Bank who are working with Mohsin Athani Saab for making this possible, because I know it would not have been possible if you were not supporting the vision of your CEO. So let me really at the outset appreciate the very good work done by HABIBMETRO, both in terms of performance and also in terms of the outreach, of which this seminar is an example. I am really very happy that as part of the panelists, Shamshad Akhtar Sahiba decided to join us. She presided over the State Bank of Pakistan at a time when some very impressive reforms were done under her leadership. She left a very, very visible imprint on the State Bank, and it's an honor for me to be in her company. So Shamshad Sahiba, really I'm very glad that you are with us today. And particularly, I wanted to mention that I'm excited that Ali Jamali Saab is here, because one of the new products that has been added in the Roshan digital accounts is the Roshan Apni card, which is making it possible for overseas Pakistanis now to buy a car for their loved ones in Pakistan just by mouse clicks. And it's a collaborative effort where the State Bank was the coordinator, but really it was to bring together the commercial banks in the Roshan family, the car manufacturers, and some other stakeholders to make these things possible, which previously were considered not possible. Now, Mohsin Athani Saab and our ambassador has already told you about the key proposition of Roshan digital accounts, how they make it possible for the diaspora to digitally open an account where it was not possible beforehand. And our Deputy Governor, Murtaza Saab, will walk you through some of the core features of the Roshan digital account. In my few minutes, I thought that I would share with you how did this journey start, number one. And number two, at a slightly broader level, what is the perspective on the state bank on the foreign exchange sovereign balance sheets? Because when you or other overseas Pakistanis are considering opening a Roshan digital account, it's not just your own banking that you may be doing. You're also deciding whether to invest in the economic future of your country. And in doing so, I would imagine that you pay particular attention to the strength of the sovereign's foreign exchange balance sheet. And I would like to comment on that from a broader perspective. Now, the first part about how this journey started. It all started about 9 to 12 months ago when our Prime Minister Imran Khan, whose vision has always been to try to find a way to support our overseas Pakistanis, who are estimated to be about 7 to 9 million. Our Prime Minister was very keen that in addition to the other ways in which the government is trying to support overseas Pakistani, the State Bank of Pakistan tried to come up with a way in which overseas Pakistanis can easily bank and invest in Pakistan. Those were his marching orders. That was his vision. And then at the State Bank of Pakistan, we put our heads together and thought of what is now possible using technology that may not have been possible before. After a lot of internal brainstorming, the Roshan digital account was born. And as you know now, what we are taking for granted about digitally onboarding, making these accounts repatriable, providing a lifestyle suite of banking products, as well as investment products, all of these things which we are now taking for granted in these Roshan digital accounts did not exist before. So our contribution was to put together that framework, but this really would not have succeeded were it not for the support and the partnership of the overseas Pakistanis who have responded very enthusiastically to this initiative, having already sent more than $1.1 billion through about 140,000 odd accounts to date. And if you do the math, you will see that with estimates of overseas Pakistanis ranging in the 7 to 9 million range, if 140,000 accounts have resulted in more than $1.1 billion, you can imagine when the number of accounts grows and comes closer to the number of millions of overseas Pakistanis. Now, this is how this journey started, and I must appreciate the leadership of our Deputy Governor Murtaza Sayyed and his team, who has been leading this effort inside the State Bank. Our goal here is to build this product, is to build this space, and these two new ways of facilitating over Pakistanis that we've added recently, the Roshan Apni Card, of which I hope there'll be more discussion, and Roshan Samaji Khidmat, which are easy ways to give in Pakistan. You will see that we will continue to try to play our coordinating role to push new ways of facilitating overseas Pakistanis. And our only ask in return is that if you are an overseas Pakistani, you have tried the Roshan digital account, and you are happy with the services that you are getting and the ease with which you can bank, then do tell 5 other friends or family about it, because word of mouth is the best way to get it going. Now, let me then turn to the other point that I wanted to mention, which is about why should you consider investing in Pakistan's economic future at this juncture? And particularly how does the foreign exchange balance sheet of the country look now compared to, say, 2 years ago? I worked at the IMF for a good 18 years before quitting and joining the State Bank of Pakistan. And one of the core roles of the IMF is to go around assessing the health of foreign exchange sovereign balance sheets. And if there's one lesson I learned in my 18 years, it was that one of the biggest vulnerability that any sovereign can have in its foreign exchange balance sheet is a current account deficit, which in simple terms is the drain on a country's foreign exchange resources from trade and remittances and a few other areas. Now, as you may know, in Pakistan, a couple of years ago, the current account had a deficit of about $19 billion annually. In other words, there was a drain of $19 billion from the foreign exchange part of the sovereign's balance sheet. If that were the state, then I would understand any overseas Pakistani would maybe want to think twice before they want to park their foreign exchange in Pakistan. Today, that current account deficit of $19 billion is a surplus of several $100 million in the first 9 months of the current fiscal year. And that is Exhibit A that I would like all the attendees of this call today to keep in mind, that the number one predictor of sovereign distress in the country has been addressed very effectively by turning around that large hole into a surplus. The second point that I want to make is that this turnaround in the current account deficit has not been done through any kind of a stopgap temporary measure. It has not been done through applying a band-aid on an underlying bigger problem. But this has been done through an institutional reform. And that institutional reform is the transition of our exchange rate system from a largely fixed exchange rate system to a market-based exchange rate system in June of 2019. Back then, and before this transition actually, one of the key reasons we had such a large current account deficit was the fact that our exchange rate was not fairly valued. It was highly overvalued, and because it was being kept at an artificial level, it was effectively a tax on our exports and a subsidy to anybody who wanted to import. We changed the exchange rate system to a market-based system so that in future, a situation does not arise that any person again decides to fix the exchange rate at a level which ends up being a non-competitive level. And my point by sharing this with you is that the reason we may wish to have more confidence going forward is that the exchange rate being market-based will be an automatic shock absorber to prevent current account deficits of the same magnitude from emerging again. Third point, and I want to end on that, is not only did we fix our current account deficit, not only did we do it through a good institutional reform of changing the exchange rate system to a market-based system, but also this newly born market-based exchange rate system has survived the test of COVID very well. COVID was the largest capital account crisis that the global economy has seen since World War II. And if ever there would have been a test of our newly born market-based exchange rate regime, it was the test of COVID. We floated the exchange rate when it was around 162 in June of 2019. In the months before COVID, of its own accord, it strengthened to about 153, 154 before COVID. When COVID struck, the rupee depreciated, just like many other emerging markets depreciated. And from its peak to trough, the total depreciation of the rupee was about 7 to 8%. whereas the depreciation across many other emerging markets was in the range of 20 to 30%. But what is more important is that being a market-based exchange rate, as the economic sentiment turned around, the rupee of its own accord strengthened from its low of 168 and is currently at around 153, 154, right at those levels before COVID. If you compare the rupee today to other emerging market currencies and you start the clock from the beginning of COVID, you will see that while the rupee today is roughly the same level, it depreciated and then it recovered its strength. Some other major emerging market currencies today, I'll just give you some examples. The lira, the Turkish lira today is 30% weak compared to when COVID started a year and a few months ago. The Nigerian naira is 25% down. Russian ruble is 16% down. The Brazilian real is 21% down, and so on. And so if you compare Pakistan's currency in a cross-country perspective, you will see that we have survived, this exchange rate system has survived the test of COVID very well, while our reserves have grown. In June of 2019, when we floated the exchange rate, we had $7 billion on our balance sheet. Today, we have close to $16 billion. Our reserves are more than double. This doubling has not come about from borrowing, because as the IMF noted in its most recent report, our net international reserves, since we floated the currency until the end of last year, rose by $9 billion. The increase in the net international reserves was also more than double our starting level of reserves. So I want to just end by reminding all our friends with us today that the point of sharing with you all of these numbers with respect to the foreign exchange part of our sovereign balance sheet is that there has been a very significant and high quality improvement in our balance sheet that has survived the test of COVID. And this should, in our view, be the biggest reason to give confidence to overseas Pakistanis to consider investing in Pakistan's economic future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor Saab. Really appreciate you giving us flavor on the current account situation, because that is one of the questions potential account openers and investors ask. So I'm sure everybody would have found it very useful. Before I invite Dr. Murtaza Saab, I just wanted to mention that this session is being streamed live on a number of social media platforms such as HABIBMETRO's Facebook and YouTube channels. So the viewers who have questions may leave them in the comment section, and we will ask the speakers and panelists to answer those questions towards the end. So everybody will get a chance who has a question, and we will bring it up to this forum. So with that, if I could request the Deputy Governor, Murtaza Saab, who has been spearheading this very successful initiative, to share with us the progress and his thoughts on this offering. Murtaza Saab.
Thank you very much, Mohsin Saab. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and very warm hello to everyone on this webinar today. And very, very happy to be here on with such an esteemed panel as well. Dr. Shamshad, Mr. James Khan, the Honorable High Commissioner, as well as our colleague from Indus Motors. It's really a pleasure to be able to talk about the Roshan digital account in this webinar. It's been a labor of love, I think, for us, for both the governor and myself. We were overseas Pakistanis ourselves not long ago, and we, I think, felt the pain that many overseas Pakistanis felt in terms of trying to connect with the Pakistani banking system and the Pakistani economy from outside Pakistan. And so really, the Roshan digital account for us was a way of paying tribute to overseas Pakistanis who really have been helping out the Pakistan economy historically through their remittances, to really put ourselves in their shoes and think about their needs, and to try to come up with a product that is first rate, that really blends finance and technology in a way that we had not been able to do before in Pakistan's banking system. So I'm very happy to talk about the Roshan digital account. I have a very short presentation that I'd like to share, which goes a little bit into the main features of the Roshan digital account, as well as some of the new things that we've been adding into the account recently, and then some facts and figures to tell you how the scheme has been doing so far. I hope everyone can see my screen. Mohsin Saab, I hope the screen is visible.
Gee, I can see the screen.
All right. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a few slides to fix some ideas. What are the key features of the Roshan digital account? What makes it different from what was being offered before? I think there are three things that people should keep in mind. First of all, for the first time in Pakistan's history, a customer, an overseas Pakistani, is able to open a bank account in Pakistan without having to visit a bank branch, an embassy, a consulate. In fact, you can just do this from the comfort of your home, wherever you happen to have an internet connection. You can go online. We've streamlined the process together with the banks, and the documentation requirements are also very simple, and you can just scan those sitting where you are. And these accounts are available both in Pakistani rupee as well as all the major currencies of the world, including the British pound. The account can be opened in a conventional form or an Islamic form for those friends who would rather bank in a Sharia compliant way. And the account can be opened either as a current account or a saving account, as a single account or a joint account. And if you have all the documentation together, the account can be opened within 48 hours. The second key aspect of the Roshan digital account scheme is that once you've opened the account, you actually have access to all kinds of banking services in Pakistan. A full lifestyle suite of products is made available to the overseas Pakistani, including a wide range of very attractive investment opportunities that I will talk about, specially tailored to overseas Pakistanis. The third feature that is important to remember, and I think provides great comfort to overseas Pakistanis, is that the money in this account is fully repatriable. Whenever you need the money back, this is your money. You can repatriate it back to your country of residence without needing any approval from the state bank, from your bank, or from any government agency. The idea is that just as easy as it was to send the money in the first place, the same ease will be provided to the overseas Pakistani when it comes time to repatriating the accounts. Just very briefly, how to actually open an account. You can do it in one of two ways. You can either visit the State Bank website, and very prominently you see a banner advertising there, the Roshan digital account. You can click on it and you will have all sorts of information about the account, frequently asked questions, and you will also see the logos of the 12 participating banks in Roshan digital account. You click on those and it'll take you to the portals of those banks and you can begin the account opening process. Or you can also just bypass the State Bank website, go directly to the website of any of the 12 participating banks. I've shown you the logos down here. Of course, HABIBMETRO is one of them. And we are adding banks month by month. We began with 8 banks. We now are at 12. And you can go to these bank websites directly as well to be able to open your Roshan digital account. Once the account is opened, the overseas Pakistani can do a variety of things. They can pay bills for their family members in Pakistan, utility bills, school bills, do e-commerce, send them gifts. And they will also get ATM and debit cards that they can use both in Pakistan as well as abroad. They can invest in the stock market, and I'm sure Dr. Shamshad will say a few words about that as well. We're very excited about this opportunity for overseas Pakistanis to partake in the stock market in Pakistan, which has been doing very, very well over several years. You can also invest in the Naya Pakistan certificates, which are government bonds, which I will say a little bit more about, offering excellent returns. You can buy and sell property using the Roshan digital account. It can be residential or commercial. You can even or rent out the property that you buy. And again, the funds are repatriable. The two for your family through the Roshan Apni Car. The financing rates are very, very attractive. They start from as low as 7%. Insurance rates have also been brought down, and Sharia financing options are also available for Roshan Apni Car. And one thing that we are very, very happy about is that together with the main auto manufacturers in Pakistan, we've been able to cut delivery time significantly. So your family members living in Pakistan can get access to the car in record time, in as little as 1 month. Lastly, you can also give to charity through Roshan Samaji Khidmat. It's a portal that has been made in the Roshan digital account through which you can donate to charities, schools, hospitals, give zakat, and also for the first time, if you are so inclined, to actually contribute to the government's SARS program, which, as many of you will know, is a landmark program that has got international recognition and really is providing a lot of help to the disadvantaged people in Pakistan. Let me just say a few words quickly about the Naya Pakistan certificates. These are government bonds. They're administered by the state bank. They carry the full sovereign guarantee of the Pakistani government. They're available in different tenors. For those customers who would rather invest for a short time, they're available in 3 and 6 and 12-month periods. But you can also lock in the interest rates for longer if you want, for 3 and 5 years. Early encashment is also allowed. The returns are very, very attractive, particularly if you compare them to other risk-free returns that are available right now in the Western world. In US dollars, you can get up to 7%. In British pounds, if you buy that denominated Naya Pakistan certificate, you can get up to 6.5%. In euro, 5.75%. In PKR, 11%. There's a very simple tax treatment of these certificates. The overseas Pakistani does not have to file any taxes. There's just a 10% withholding tax, full and final, that is deducted at source, and then your tax liability is fully discharged that way. Again, these certificates are also available in Sharia form for those who would rather go down the Islamic banking route, and this has actually been quite successful, as we have noticed in the last 8 months that we have started this scheme. Just to say that webinars like this are very, very useful for us because we get a lot of feedback from the diaspora. And in response to that feedback, we've been continually innovating. And in fact, one of the attractive features of Roshan Digital Account is that we continue to innovate in response to the needs of the diaspora. Just to give you an illustration, 4 things we've done recently. We introduced Naya Pakistan certificates also in Euro and Great British Pounds about 3 months ago. In response to the diaspora's feedback. They were previously only available in dollars and Pakistani rupees. Second thing we've done is we've simplified tax treatment for all the transactions that you do through the Roshan Digital Account, and including all the investments. Very, very simple. They're discharged automatically. You don't have to file a tax return in Pakistan for any of the transactions that you do through the Roshan Digital Account. The third thing is we have been able to reduce transfer charges. The Pakistani banks will not charge anything for remittances in and out of Pakistan. And most of the correspondent banks and intermediaries that the Pakistani banks have a relationship with have agreed to reduce the charges to $5 to $9 per transaction. These used to be 40 to 60 before this agreement was struck. So we're very happy that we've been able to bring down the transfer charges. And fourth, we are expanding products continually. The Roshan Apni Car loan and Samaji Khidmat that I told you about being just one example, but going forward, we want to bring even more products, including housing loans and annuity products and other ideas. Let me just end then with just a few numbers. How is it going so far? It's been 8 months since we launched Roshan Digital Account. We've had accounts opened from 170 countries. We've had 144,339 accounts opened as of yesterday, and the funds that have come in are now over 1 billion, to be exact, $1.16 billion as of yesterday. The funds have been accelerating since we started the scheme. This is very, very good to see. And in March and April, we had very, very good numbers. In May also, we're expecting the numbers to be very strong. In terms of the top 10 countries through which the funds are being received, these are the ones that we are showing you here. And you can see that the UK is number 4. Number 1 is the UAE, number 2, Saudi Arabia, number 3, the US. And we are really hopeful that now that we have launched the Naya Pakistan certificate in pounds and euros, that the numbers for Europe and the UK in particular will start to go up even more. Finally, how are these funds being used? About a third of them are going into the conventional Naya Pakistan certificates, another 30% or so into the Islamic versions, and then the rest is basically account balances and transactions that are being done here in Pakistan. 1% of the funds so far have gone into the stock market, about 0.5% have gone into real estate, but going forward, we hope to be able to get these numbers to rise by introducing new products for overseas Pakistanis and also marketing them in an aggressive way. Lastly, before I hand it back to Mohsin Saab, if you want more information on Roshan Digital Account, please go to our website. On the left-hand side, you can see the address. But also, if you go into Google and just type State Bank and Roshan Digital Account, it'll take you to the website. And if you have any suggestions or feedback for us, including any problems that you might be having, we are very committed to solving those and also continually improving the product. You can write to us at rdasupport@sbp.org.pk. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the discussion. Mohsin Saab, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, Murtaza Saab, for a very comprehensive facts sharing about the key features of the product. And I'm glad you touched upon the withholding tax aspect, which has been a question that most of the investors were asking initially, which you and the team have been able to resolve in a timely manner. And I'm glad that you also shared the flexibility in terms of tenors and the different currencies. Again, this was one of the frequently asked questions by the initial set of investors. So thank you very much for sharing all those details with us. And I'm sure there'll be multiple questions towards the end. We've already started receiving them, and I will address direct some of those to you towards the end. Moving on, I'm going to request our very well-known esteemed panelist, Dr. Shamshad Akhtar Sahiba, to talk in the capacity of the chairperson Stock Exchange. Dr. Sahiba, before I give you the floor, I just wanted to make some opening comments. Things like everybody's now saying that with the Roshan digital account, the making investments in the stock market has never been easier compared to what it is now. So there is a lot of enthusiasm, though we expect the numbers, I hope, to build up, and you will, I'm sure, talk about that. Could you also, when you were making your comments, talk about how do you expect this offering to impact the increased investment in the stock market, which has been one of the goals of this product offering, as well as a desire of the overseas Pakistanis to have a seamless platform through which they can invest. So I'm going to pass on the mic to you so that you can comment about some of these things.
Thank you, and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I want to acknowledge Governor Raza Bakir Sahab, Deputy Governor, UK Ambassador, and I want to congratulate the team of the Central Bank for a range of measures that they have taken. For anything like capital movements, you do need macroeconomic stability as well as exchange rate stability. And I'd like to join Dr. Raza Bakir Saab that we have seen some important new milestones on that frontier, which should provide a broader comfort to the investors overseas. Having said that, I think there is also a range of digital initiatives which will provide further impetus to this particular initiative, which is the digital banking, the digital financial inclusion, the payment systems, and now the Roshan digital account. So I'm going to make about 4 or 5 points just to reinforce what has been said, but as is expected from me, to talk more about the stock market potential. So first, I think it's important to acknowledge that the efficiency and simplicity of the Roshan digital account is, in my view, quite remarkable. And its flexibility to go beyond Naya Pakistan fixed yield certificates of different maturity that Governor Saab and Deputy Governor have talked about, to allow for diversification to the investors of their portfolio, so that they can invest in a variety of consumption goods in Pakistan that are being produced in this country. But most of all, from my standpoint, to allow us to benefit from the savings of the overseas Pakistani and direct them into high-yielding assets, stocks, bonds, and all other products of the Pakistan Stock Exchange. My second point is that overseas Pakistanis need to be complemented, as since the operationalization of Roshan digital account, our non-resident investors have indeed invested a significant amount, given that the period thus far is small. And there is, of course, scope to divert additional savings and wealth of the non-residents in financial market and country, in different parts of the country. So it's been already pointed out that we have a huge population out there, the diaspora. The overseas Pakistanis have opened up 140,000 plus Roshan digital accounts. A small proportion thus far has gone into the stock market investment accounts. But as I see, this is just a beginning, and I'm quite optimistic that we should be able to jointly work with the non-resident community to lift the game for them and for Pakistan and for our financial markets. My third point, which is more substantive point, is that Roshan digital account has potential to deepen and diversify Pakistan's financial market for the benefit of country and investors. Investors overseas need to recognize that Pakistan Stock Exchange has offered the highest returns in comparison with other asset classes in the country over the last decade. Pakistan Stock Exchange offered returns of 13% over the last 10-year period, 2010 to 2020, and this also includes the COVID period. Whereas other asset classes like gold, savings certificates, and T-bills have offered, of course, a lesser return, not that they haven't been a good investment product, because some of these are risk-free assets, and as Raza Bakir Saab pointed out, the sovereign risk is something to be valued. But what we will bring to the table is higher risk and higher return products, which should be helping not only the equity and debt market development in the country, but helping us move Pakistan from excessively bank-based to a capital market based economy, and capital markets everywhere where they have thrived have achieved higher growth dividends, as I see. So over the past 10 years, PSX generated about 15% annual average returns, and the KSC 100 index has a return of 8.17% on average offered, which is double the returns relative to the MSC emerging market index, which is about 4.78%. So that's fairly attractive relative to the other markets. The price earnings ratio is about 9.78 relative to our neighbor India, which is 34%. Dividend yield ratio of PSX was around 3.88 versus 0.8 in India. I'm just taking few indicators to familiarize you with the dynamism of our market. Taking a 20-year view, we can see that PSX has outperformed most markets globally, with the KSC 100 index outperforming stock markets like those of US, China, India, amongst others. What is needed, of course, is more depth and breadth in our capital market, and I will be able to share with you a few highlights on what is being done to be able to develop a more strong and robust stock exchange in Pakistan. First of all, we are launching a significant effort to expedite and to deepen the IPO markets for both equity and, of course, to diversify the debt market, get the private companies to also get into this business. We are 500 plus stocks listed on the exchange, are spread across 35 sectors, and we have huge clientele investing in bills, bonds, term finance certificates, sukuks, etc. So diversified investment products. More recently, what is fascinating is the successful launch of the 4 exchange-traded funds and 4 indices. So with the launch of exchange-traded funds, PSX is confident that small investors will find a viable asset class to make an entry into stock market of the country should they hesitate going full exposure on 1 or 2 companies. And they will reap the benefits of investing in a cost-effective and diversified product such as the ETF, which is very popular in other markets. Now, my last point is, of course, I would be very happy to add on the procedural dimension, but I'd much rather let the Deputy Governor Saab get back to the questions. And on the process, I'd just like to give comfort to the non-resident account holders that Roshan Digital Account offers seamless and secure access to PSX, which is backed by modern clearing and settlement as well as custodial services. I'm very proud of these 2 institutions because when PSX was being transformed, during my early association with the capital markets, I have to tell you that the clearing and settlement and the custodial services were really modernized, and now they are, particularly the CDC has become a role model custodial services body, which goes beyond just the stocks to handle other custody transfer services. But there's a very easy process to it. Trust me, I have gone through it myself step by step. I had a detailed meeting after I took over as the chairperson of the Pakistan Stock Exchange to look at how convenient it is. And we'd like more, with the support of our primary regulators, both on one side, the central bank and also SECP, to look at avenues where you could deal directly with the stock exchange as much as possible, because we are soon operationalizing a very high-powered automation system, which has been with the support of our Chinese consortium. So my last point, I am a bond regulator in one form or the other, whether I was at the World Bank or Asian Development Bank, I was always working on financial markets regulation. I would like to give you a very strong comfort, like the Governor Saab gave the comfort to you on the exchange rate reforms, which I think is a major achievement of this country and of the central bank, and particularly to the credit of Raza Bakir Saab, who brings with him the wealth of the knowledge on that frontier, that capital markets ecosystem with whom I've had my own interface since my days at the Asian Development Bank, because I had launched a whole program of capital market reforms in this country sitting in Manila at the ADB. And then subsequently, every time I visited, we took it a step forward. And like everything else, you come back circling. And now I am in the stock exchange again. So I can assure you that our ecosystem has undergone substantial transformation. It offers fair, transparent, and efficient market. It's because PSX is now an integrated one exchange rather than an exchange of the 3 markets, be it really the Karachi Stock Exchange or the other exchanges that have merged and integrated to enhance the price discovery system of the stocks. PSX is corporatized and it is demutualized. It is diversified in its shareholding, which is a source of strength, with 40% owned by Chinese consortium And I can tell you, I'm very proud that I have been involved in the reforms of the Chinese securities regulator, insurance, and all those. So I can tell you there's a lot that's gone into there. But our Chinese consortium now own 40% of our PSX, another 15% is foreign shareholding, and 45% held by domestic investors, with 20% stake with the general public. Partnership with Chinese consortium is incredible in my view, as it is linked up with the world's third and fourth larger exchanges of the world, and China's Financial Future Exchange, which will help us bring in new products, and of course our very own Habib Bank Limited, which has a stake, has also network in 25 countries in 4 continents. So I do believe we have been able to bring the powerhouse of the financial system to back up the PSX. PSX evolved its subsidiaries, the National Clearing and Settlement System, the CDC, and I can tell you that they offer very modern and efficient services. In the recent a few months, and that will be my last source of comfort to you, that some people may be negative about the size of our equity market, but if you actually look at the market cap growth, it is pretty phenomenal in the last few years. But after a lull in the IPO market, our first IPO, equity IPO, after 15 months was transacted very successfully, followed by 2 others, and we have launched market making framework for listed debt securities agreements signed with 2 major banks. And first debt issue via book building, the Pakistan rupee 200 billion Pakistan Energy Sukuk number 2. So these are just illustration of the diversity that we are planning to bring, and I can assure you, with the new board that has just taken over, we have a higher proportion of the independent board members, and although there has been reforms of the brokerage industry too, the Security Exchange Commission has done everything to strengthen the independence of the exchange. So I'm going to stop here and be ready to answer questions. The reason why I took some time, because I do want people to understand that while we have very strong regulators, we should be proud of our capital market, and I do see a new dynamism on that frontier, and we are counting on the central bank to help us fix the glitches that exist for the PSX to be very well integrated in the service delivery of the Roshan digital account clients. And we would welcome any questions you have written directly to PSX, and we will participate in webinars going forward from the platform of the capital market going forward. Over to you, Mohsin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shamshad Saiba, for a very comprehensive facts that you shared with us. I won't go through any of the details, but do want to touch upon the fact that you focused, stressed upon the ease of opening the accounts, which is very important. And the attractive valuations in terms of our other neighboring or other countries that you talked about in terms of our price equity compared to the other South Asian countries. So clearly the attractive valuations is going to hopefully be an incentive for others to invest here. And finally, you talked about the seamless and secure access to both the PSX and CDC. So clearly, I think there's a lot of value addition that has now been created through the Roshan digital account for overseas investors. I'm sure we'll have questions in the end, but in the interest of time that we move on, I'm going to now request Mr. Ali Jamali to speak. He is the CEO for Indus Motor Company. I think we're all excited to have him here because now, as I mentioned at the beginning, that overseas Pakistanis can purchase and finance cars through the Roshan digital account in a very convenient manner and also with expedited delivery, as Murtaza Saab mentioned in his comments. So I'm going to give the floor to Ali to talk about this, and then I will, I'm sure there'll be many questions which we can direct towards Ali Jamali in the end before we hand over to James after Ali. Ali, over to you. I think it's Ali, are you having some connectivity problems? Because we can't share you. So what we'll do is, Ali, whilst your connectivity issues are sorted out, I'm going to move on to James and give him the floor. James, we're very excited to have you here because you are the only non-resident Pakistani on this forum, and essentially the audience towards which this offering is targeted. So if I can hand over the floor to you, and then we will address any questions that will come your way.
Thank you, Mohsen. Firstly, I'm delighted to be joining you today and honoured to be amongst this esteemed group of people. I think it's great to actually have somebody representing the market that this particular product serves. So I think the first thing I'd say is the modernisation and digitalisation of the financial services products offered to overseas Pakistanis is probably well overdue, and I'm delighted to see that an audience which is so critical to the Pakistan economy for the first time is being served. As a non-resident Pakistani, I've engaged many challenges when trying to send funds to Pakistan and trying to open bank accounts, which has been incredibly archaic and very bureaucratic. So this idea of being able to open an account within 48 hours, I think, is very refreshing. Also, as a non-resident Pakistani, I've had problems in the past where I've, sent money across, which has always been easy, but getting money out has been quite a nightmare. And I'm very encouraged by the opportunity that actually it is for the first time a more transparent opportunity of being able to get the money back out in a very open and transparent way. And I think that has been a bugbear of many of the overseas Pakistanis.
James, there's some distortion in your mic, I think. James, there's some distortion in your mic. If you could either maybe perhaps not use the headphone or maybe bring the mic closer to your mouth.
Sure.
There's some distortion coming in.
I think I'm moving the mic. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, this is much better.
Okay. I think when I look at the 144,000 accounts which have been opened, when you look, there are 8.8 million non-resident Pakistanis living abroad. So I think you are simply scratching the surface at this stage. I think the upside potential of this market, I think, is huge. I think this has been the 10th consecutive month where funds coming in from overseas Pakistanis has exceeded 2 billion a month. So, I think there is a huge amount of support that overseas Pakistanis show, Pakistan in relation to investing money. But I think historically, it has always been quite challenging doing business with Pakistan. I think one of the factors that has put people off is, I think, the current account trade deficit. I think the 19 billion swing, I think, has been quite remarkable. So I would certainly like to congratulate the team here, because I think that is quite an incredible achievement, and certainly something that I think does keep a lot of overseas Pakistanis awake at night to say, I would like to invest in the country, but is my money safe? And I think listening to that this afternoon, I think was incredibly encouraging, knowing that we're not going to be investing money into some bottomless pit where we'll never get it back. So I think that turnaround, that swing of 19 billion, I think has been quite an incredible achievement. I think when I've dealt with Pakistan in the past, where I've transferred money to buy property, to pay bills, etc., it has always been a bit of a nightmare. So I think this digital process that you're providing, should make it a lot easier. And I think when you look around the world, how technology is transforming the way we live and the way we do business, I'm delighted on behalf of, overseas Pakistanis to see that Pakistan is embracing this kind of digitalization, this opportunity to make it easy for people like me, to do business with Pakistan. I think the concept of the Now Pakistan bonds and the level of interest that's being offered, I think is incredibly competitive. When I look at other products that I'm offered from time to time, to have a deposit in sterling, which I'm delighted to see over the last few months has now been introduced, that level of return with a government-backed security, actually I think is highly competitive and probably will achieve a very well received response from the community abroad. So I think from everything we've heard today, on behalf of people like myself, I think it's incredibly encouraging and very refreshing to see that you are listening to the market that you are serving, that you are trying to address some of the challenges that people like me face when doing business or sending money across to Pakistan. I think the fact that there are more than one bank available, gives a very good distribution across all the key markets where British Pakistanis reside. And I think the opportunity to invest in real estate, to accelerate the opportunity of purchasing cars, to be able to directly invest in the stock market, these are all the things that I've been put off in the past because the truth of the matter is it's just too hard to do business. And I think listening to the presentations from all the different individuals today, I think it's been incredibly encouraging. And I'd like to wish, the group around this table, a lot of success in the hard work that you've done making this available. But I have every confidence that we will see this product exceed your expectations, and the 20 billion that's estimated to come from overseas Pakistanis, I'm confident will only increase. So well done, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to represent what is such an important part of the community for Pakistan.
Thank you very much, James. Again, delighted to share what you said, that it was difficult to do business before and transact in Pakistan. And both, I think, the governor and the deputy governor, who were until recently overseas Pakistanis, felt the need to simplify this. And I'm glad to hear this, that everyone feels now that through this product offering, we've made it much easier for overseas Pakistanis to transact in Pakistan. More about this in the Q&A. Mr. Ali Jamali is back. Ali, if I could request you to take the floor, and then we'll deal with the questions.
Thank you, Mohsen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Yes, you
okay. All right. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, it's a pleasure. It's my honor to be part of this panel. Governor State Bank Raza Bakar Saab, Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, Deputy Governor Mr. Murtaza, Mr. James, Ambassador Mr. Mozam, and Mohsen, thank you very much. I would actually start a little bit before Roshan Digital Account, and I would like to compliment State Bank of Pakistan. Today, Alhamdulillah, the industry, automobile industry, is doing very well. And I think the policies that the State Bank of Pakistan during the COVID time has taken is remarkable. Those have not only to auto industry, but to also other industries that have really helped. Their salary program, their turf, even the interest rate which are down. I think Pakistan is on a verge of going on a very big growth. So I think I would like to start with that. I think Roshan Digital Account itself is a remarkable achievement, but I think we should start from before where. And I would like to thank Raza that he's saying I'm a dynamic leader, but actual dynamic leader is Mr. Raza and Mr. Murtaza, who has actually helped Pakistan to get out from a crisis in the COVID situation. Coming to the Roshan Digital Account, I think it's a fantastic idea coming from Prime Minister, executed by the State Bank, to actually help overseas Pakistanis who are an asset to this nation. Adding to it, as they've added the Roshan Apni Car, I had the pleasure of attending the ceremony. in case of the scheme, I think the interest rates are extremely low, 7% interest rates. The State Bank has announced for overseas Pakistanis to finance a car. Insurance rates also are almost half of what the existing insurance rates are. Secondly, I think because of the good policies, the reason that I started because of the good policies, I think that's why the demand of automobile in Pakistan is very high and the lead times are very high. And I think both Raza and Murtaza did say that the delivery times will be less. They've requested us to make the delivery times half of what the delivery times are. But at least from IMC side, from Toyota, I can assure all the overseas Pakistanis that we will not half the delivery time, because if we half the delivery time, it will be 2.5 months and 3 months. We will deliver for all our overseas Pakistanis who book their vehicles through or finance their vehicles through the Roshan digital account. We will deliver them in within 30 days to the best possible that we can, right? Sometimes there is some issue on colors and all, but we do want to contribute to this great scheme that the State Bank has announced, and that's our commitment that we will deliver within 30 days. Um, this scheme, not only helps the overseas Pakistanis, it helps the industries in Pakistan, and I think it will be a win-win situation for everyone. I will not take much time because I'm extremely excited, extremely pleased to be part of this panel, and extremely I would like to contribute to whatever we can to the State Bank of Pakistan, to the overseas Pakistans. As always, which I end with all my saying, I would say it, Pakistan Zindabad. Thank you, Mohsin.
Thank you very much, Jamali Saab. I'm sure not only me, but a lot of people on this are participating will be delighted to hear your assurance and your commitment that you will deliver the vehicle in under 30 days' time. I'm sure the Prime Minister and the State Bank would be very happy with such support that you're extending to making the Roshan Apni Car scheme a success, especially also taking into account the attractive financing terms that this scheme offers. I'm sure there'll be a lot of success to this as this has just been launched. I'm just going to go to the questions, which fortunately, with I think a very comprehensive update from Murtaza Saab, a lot of those questions have already been answered. Some of the ones which are not answered, I'm going to raise to the audience over here. Um, People have asked about the features of the Naya Pakistan certificates and the incentives. I think those were covered extensively by Murtaza Saab. As far as the incentives are concerned, I think the question refers more to the attractive returns, which have already been mentioned, and the ease of using the account. In addition to that, I think the incentive is the attractive financing scheme under Roshan Digital Account. Murtaza Saab, is there anything else that you would want to add to this question?
I think, Mohsin Saab, obviously the Naya Pakistan certificate I talked about in great detail. The returns being offered, I think the risk-free returns compare very well, I think, to what is on offer in much of the world right now. Interest rates are close to zero. We're offering up to 7% in US terms, 6.5% in British pound terms. So I think those, features I have covered already. I think in addition to that, the fact that you can now buy property in Pakistan and then also have the ease of repatriating your investment, I think to me is also a very attractive feature of Roshan Digital Account. There are a lot of overseas Pakistanis that have property in Pakistan, but unfortunately, because they didn't buy it through Roshan Digital Account, they have problems in repatriating the amounts when they sell the account. You won't have that problem with Roshan Digital Account. And I think, as Dr. Shamshad was saying, we really want to take the integration with the Pakistan Stock Exchange to the next level. And I really would encourage overseas Pakistanis to get to know Pakistan's stock market better. It really has been offering very handsome returns in the past. And we will do our best also to ensure that that information is passed on to overseas Pakistanis through the brokerage houses and through their Roshan digital accounts.
Thank you, Murtaza Saab. You have pretty much answered 2 or 3 other questions, but I will still put one question out to you, which says that if I were to send pound sterling to RDA account and use it for purchasing property, how can I And can I repatriate both the principal as well as the profit that is generated from the sale of a property after some years back to the UK? So the question is, can they repatriate both principal as well as profit?
So the answer to that is they can repatriate the principal anytime, but the profit has to be repatriated, can be repatriated after a period of 3 years of purchase of the property. So the profit part can be repatriated after 3 years of purchase, but the principal part can be repatriated anytime.
Okay, that's very useful to know. There's also a question, Murtaza Saab, for you before I go to the other panelists, is that there is apparently transferring funds from one RDA account to another RDA account is not permitted at this stage, even if the accounts are opened in the same name by two different banks. So could you comment on this, please?
We will certainly take a look at that. I wasn't aware of this problem. What we do not allow, of course, is local feeding of the accounts because these accounts are repatriable. So we don't want, funds that are generated in Pakistan to also make their way into these accounts and then to be repatriated. So, but we will look into this issue. I wasn't aware that it was not allowed to transfer funds between RDA accounts in different banks. I think we can sort this out.
Thank you, Murtaza Saab. One last question has come up again, which is relevant to you, is when will there be a mortgage finance scheme as part of the RDA program similar to akin to Roshan Apni Car? Is that something that is in the works?
Absolutely, it's in the works. I think the Roshan Apni Car took about 6 weeks to be fully developed, and in cooperation with Ali Jamali Saab and other auto manufacturers, were able to really come up with a very good scheme. We have started work already on a mortgage finance scheme as well, and we just started that right now. We hope to be able to offer it both in conventional form as well as Sharia compliant form. And I think, given the experience with Roshan Apni Car, it shouldn't be too long. I'm thinking maybe a couple of months before we can also launch that. And it'll be targeted towards different kinds of overseas Pakistanis based on their needs, the blue collar as well as the white collars.
Thank you, Murtaza Saab. I'll now move on to Dr. Shamshad Saiba. There are a few questions. Dr. Saiba, despite the fact that I think your opening comments were so comprehensive that again, several questions have been answered. But I would still ask this question, which says, why should one invest in the stock exchange, Pakistan Stock Exchange, versus other investment avenues? Now, you had mentioned that the returns are much higher, but I will let you respond to this if you want to add any other comments to this question. Dr. Saiba, you're on mute.
Okay. So there are a variety of reasons why I would recommend to non-residents to come to this market. First of all, I think it's our obligation as Pakistanis, wherever, we are non-residents out there, but our origins are based in our original country. So I would very much encourage people to participate in the development and financial market opportunities that exist in this country. And as I have pointed out, this is a market which has huge potential to be further exploited. We would like to enhance the investor base of this, but we would also like non-resident Pakistanis to consider participating in in raising capital for their ventures within Pakistan, because we would be really looking at how to stimulate more the initial public offerings of both the equity, but also we are working on promoting debt market development. And as was pointed out earlier, the digital Roshan scheme offers both conventional and and Islamic finance instrument. The Pakistan Stock Exchange similarly offers the opportunity for both the tracks of financing in an effective way. And recently, as I pointed out, there was a sukuk that was floated. It was through a book building exercise, which has been extremely successful, not only for the country, but also for the investors who have invested in. The final point is that I think Pakistan is now launching a wide range of reforms, be it in the infrastructure sector, be it in the human development frontier, or in agriculture sector, and we are hoping that the sectoral complexion that the PSX offers is going to be deepened further, because we are going into newer frontiers. I mean, Pakistan has just launched an electric vehicle policy. We have launched renewable energy policy, which is going to be very aggressive. The housing schemes, and I'm hoping that the housing ventures will move from the banking exclusive dependence to capital market bond issue raising also. So there will be a lot of diversity that will come forward as the economy gains momentum, and there is a whole new range of industrial policy initiatives that are in the making, which will offer a lot of opportunities to Pakistani investors. And Pakistani investors have the option to participate in different products. The smaller or people with less risk appetite can benefit from the ETFs, which have just been launched, and there is an Islamic ETF as well as conventional ETFs. The NIT has launched an ETF, UBL has launched an ETF, and so has Mizan Bank launched an ETF. But it's taking off. This innovation in the market is going to be hitting new frontiers. And we want our investors overseas, with the knowledge base that they have of the international markets, to participate and give a demand push also. We, of course, are going to be very supply driven, but we want to expand the investor base of the Pakistan Stock Exchange, which would be the more sustainable. I would also invite our Pakistani non-residents to consider establishing world-class brokerage industry, very high powered, if they have the experience within Pakistan. Because all these capital market infrastructure opportunities do exist. Our exchange has opened up to foreign investment in a big manner. Hope I have tried to offer ample recommendations for why overseas Pakistanis should be considering our markets. Besides just the returns are themselves illustrative of the potential in this country.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saiba. James, a question for you, and also I think there is appreciation from our viewers that you have joined us today, because you're the only non-resident person on this panel and group. So people appreciate that a lot. The question is, would you, as a non-resident, like to see any other features that you think would be of relevance to overseas Pakistanis, which could be considered or introduced by the State Bank?
I mean, I think the opportunity to address the tax issue and the withholding tax issue, I think, is quite a key point, and I think that's been addressed. I think access to real estate, I think, has been a key issue, which again, I think has been addressed. I think access to the Pakistan Stock Exchange, I think, is a great opportunity and an entry point, which otherwise has been quite frustrating. And how do we really do that? So I think my recommendation would be, with technology, let's get what we've got working. Let's get that to achieve the objectives that we've got. And I think over time, develop it further. But certainly, as a non-resident Pakistan person who does engage with Pakistan a lot, I think the things that we've touched upon today, I think, address a number of these issues. And I'm always really concerned and conscious, let's not do too much too quickly and end up getting it not right. I think, some of the things that we've touched on this webinar today do genuinely address most of the needs of people like myself that will make it easy to do business with Pakistan.
Thank you very much, James. That's very helpful. I'll just take this last question and then wrap up. This question can be answered by either Dr. Shamshad or Murtaza Sahab. Can you repatriate dividend capital gains earned from your stock exchange investments through RDA? Are the gains repatriable as well?
Yes, they are, and immediately so, unlike the real estate investment.
That's great. So I think that's a huge additional incentive and feature for investing in the stock exchange through the RDA. In the interest of time, there are some more questions, but I think we've already overrun our time. So I'd just like to wrap up. And before I say thank you, I just wanted to make two comments. One is that the offering of Roshan digital account stands on its own feet in terms of value proposition. This is not just an emotional reach out to overseas Pakistanis. It's a very, very compelling proposition that has been offered. And we've heard the features several times, so I'm not going to go through this, but I genuinely believe, and the results show that the proposition itself has been a very compelling one. Whilst you get this kind of value as an overseas investors, there is also this fact that we are participating in Pakistan's economic progress. So it's a real win-win on both the fronts that, as an investor, I benefit and I even contribute to the country. So I would like to leave this message in summary for all our viewers and existing investors and potential new investors. I'd like to, in the end, just thank all of our viewers and participants who have been with us for the last 90 minutes or so, and we hope you found this useful, and we look forward to your participation. I would also like to thank all our speakers and panelists, very eminent panelists who've given us so much time and in different parts of the world. I would like to really sincerely thank the State Bank of Pakistan team, and not only for making themselves available on this seminar, on this webinar, but by really providing exceptional service to all the banks to make this offering a success. Our team has had access to the State Bank team, and Murtaza Sahab, I would really like to thank you and Governor Sahab and the rest of your team for helping all the banks making this a success. I would also like to thank Nutshell Conference, who have been our partners in coordinating this event today and the smooth operations of it. So, Aswar, thank you very much for all your support, and thank you to your team. And finally, I would like to thank both the HABIBMETRO team, which, as Governor Saab at the beginning said and Murtaza Saab referred to, have really worked very hard to show the success that we've had so far in a record period of time. And this success, there's a lot of contribution from my WeBank AG Zurich colleagues globally who have really helped us and supported us in generating the leads and the number of accounts and the volumes that have been routed through us, and they're all very excited to support us further in this endeavor. So thank you very much, and all the best to all the participants today on this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohsin Saab. Thank you.
Thank you.